Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who happens to have a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, we're going to talk about a point of both pride and resilience, and that is Black women in politics. There is a record number of Black women throwing their hat into the hot ring of politics right now. The state of Georgia alone has a record number of eight, count them, eight Black women running for statewide offices. And if any of them win, they will be making history as one of the first in each of those categories. My guests have experience in this political arena, one being a kingmaker in communications, and the other as a state legislator in North Carolina, dealing with a chaotic GOP controlled legislature. Let me introduce them to you. First up, I have Aprill Turner. Aprill is a well respected strategic communications expert. She is the executive vice president for communications and external affairs for Higher Heights for America, whose sole purpose is to harness the power of Black women to become elected officials in these United States. Welcome back to the show, Aprill.
Thank you, Pam. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. And next I have Dr. Amber Baker. She is the North Carolina State Representative for District 72, which covers Forsyth County and parts of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Dr. Baker is an accomplished educator and leader, and who served over a decade at Kimberly Park Elementary School as principal before running for office. Her focus in the legislature is education, housing, and workforce development. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Baker.
Hello, everybody.
All right. So first up, my first question to start our conversation is for you, Aprill. Tell us, and you know what? Okay, I don't hear the noise, any background noise anymore. I was going to say maybe we mute. First, tell us a little bit more about Higher Heights for America, your mission and purpose, and how would Black women who wish to run for office get connected to you guys?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pam. So Higher Heights, wow, we're 15 years old now. We are a national organization and we are the political home for Black women. So our co-founders started Higher Heights 15 years ago because they were both political operatives in New York, and they were in rooms and they didn't see us in them. And those pipelines of being able to, the good old boys networks to raise money, to build the proper apparatus to run for office, to have the proper messaging and media machine were all things they saw were lacking for our candidates that look like us. So they started Higher Heights to support Black women running for office, and it's been a ride. As you mentioned, this year is an important election year. Every year is an important election year. 2026 is an important midterm election year, and we are seeing Black women stand up and say we want to run for office, and Higher Heights is here to support them.
All right. All right, Dr. Baker, what would you say your motivation to throw your hat into the ring of politics? Why did you do it?
You know, when I get that question, I say oftentimes you get pushed into your purpose. And that was my case. I was 5 years from retirement as a veteran educator, but I've always been involved in community, grassroots organizing, advocating for my parents and my students. And it was through that work that when this position opened up, that I started getting calls from community saying, we think you would be the perfect person for this job. So I had never ran for anything before and wasn't really sure about what it needed to look like. But what I did understand was the value and the power of making sure people had a voice. And so sometimes you just get pushed. There's no plan, there's no purpose, there's no reason other than a commitment to the work that you're already doing.
I
Okay.
did want to add one thing to that, Dr. Baker, because men don't have to ask or push. They volunteer themselves. They have that ego. And women oftentimes that are working hard in our communities that should be our best leaders, we do have to sometimes coax them, ask them a few times, so happy you stepped up. But it's interesting to see the different gender dynamic, and men volunteer to say me, and women that are totally qualified to do the same thing sometimes don't always see themselves as that. So thank you for saying that.
That's interesting. That's interesting because there is a gender dynamic with
Mhm.
everything. I think everything.
Mhm.
So this is for both of you. And what do you think is the increase in Black women running for office across the country? Because let's face it, with this Trump regime, we have just been knocked down 600,000 times, right? Plus. And so what do you think is really motivating us to say, hey, let me toss my hat in the ring?
Mhm.
What do you think is doing that, April?
I will say on our end, it's interesting. We've only been in this administration for a year and a half, and it feels
Mhm.
like 10 years, but
Yeah,
it was last January 20th, 2025. And it's interesting. Remember that time there was a meme going around of Black women kind of sitting on a beam overlooking the city, and it was smoldering and drinking coffee. Like, we're sitting this out. Black women are not sitting it out. We have never been afforded that luxury. Now, I will say I have seen more, maybe refocused and, thinking about ourselves more and self-care, which is all great. But Black women have long since been, this country turns 250 years old this year, the
mhm,
architects of this democracy. And we understand that, and our communities need us. And there's no secret about what's happening right now. Their playbook they have published, it is public. They are trying to roll us back. Every single gain that's been made, they are trying to take from us. And I do think in this pivotal moment, Black women are stepping up and saying, no, not on our watch. And, it's interesting when we talk about we're getting ready to go from 2026 to 2028, and you starting to see who's running for office, and you get all of these, well, are they qualified? Who's qualified? The person
mhm.
that's qualified who cares, the person who's qualified who's is willing to stand up. When you look at our Congressional Black Caucus in the past few years, Liz McGrath from Georgia, who is she's come to Congress to fight for gun rights. Her son was gunned down.
Yes,
Johanna Hayes from Connecticut was Educator of the Year. Ilhan Omar, is a Somalian refugee. These Lauren Underwood from Chicago is a nurse. These are the experiences that Congress need. This
right,
is what needs to be at the table to make decisions for our communities, people that have the lived experience. So that's what qualified means to run for office. And I
right.
think Black women understand that, and we're stepping into it right now like never before.
Hmm. Dr. Baker, have you noticed any uptick of people talking about political office on the local level in your area?
Yeah, I think April hit it on the head, but I also think that we needed to step back for a minute. When Vice President Harris did not win her seat, it was a gut punch to us, and I think we had to step back for a minute, just to kind of recenter ourselves and to take some time for us. But we knew that we weren't going to always stay there. But what we saw was a rapid deterioration absent the void of the Black voice, particularly Black women. And I think what's happening now is Black women in particular, know that we're leaders.
Mhm.
Those of us of a certain age, and even young people, know that this country stands on the backs of Black women. And I think now, unlike me who had to be pushed, people are saying, you know what, why not me? And there really is nothing that prepares or trains you for elected office other than a passion and a commitment to change something that you see that's fundamentally wrong. And I think that's what we're seeing. And as Black women, we know that when we step into the room, that there is a shift in the atmosphere. And I think we're stepping into that.
Mm. Yeah, I guess we are stepping into it, and we're also stepping into headaches, of which Latrice Davis commented that she values her sanity and privacy way too much to ever become an elected official, but she tips her hat to those who choose to do it. And I do too, because that's a very tough tough line to travel. And April, North Carolina is a state that has been gerrymandered to you can't gerrymander anymore. And Dr. Baker is in with these crazy people. And
Mhm.
I don't know how she manages to work her black girl magic to deal with those people. Really.
Well, let me just say this.
Uh-huh.
In terms of valuing your privacy and your sanctity, you know what? You're just choosing not to choose that fight. But as a black woman in America, our privacy and our sanity is always under attack. So don't think that because you choose not to be involved in politics, that somehow you're immune from it, because we face it on our jobs, we face it in our communities, and so we still face that. So I
Mhm.
just would say, you know, you're not immune from it when you say I'm going to set out from public office. But go ahead, Sister April.
No, I totally agree. And thanks, Latrice, for your comments. Hi, Latrice. I'm not sure if you saw it. Jennifer Lewis was just on Kiki Palmer's podcast and had a great
Yes.
dialogue on this. And she was talking about standing up where you are. And
Mhm.
I agree with Dr. Baker, everybody's fight is not the same, but
Mhm.
in this moment, and Jennifer Lewis is like, what's happening is coming for everybody's doorstep. No one's going to be missed. So what is it that you're going to do? And maybe it's not running for office. Maybe it's supporting a candidate. Maybe it's showing up at meetings. It's calling you members of Congress. But I do feel in this moment, I agree, public office is not for everybody. This is a hard time to be an office holder, but we definitely have to do our part to support those that are stepping up to fight for us, and whatever other part that we can see that we could do where we are.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I would also say too that education is a beautiful thing. So whether you have attended college or not, reading and understanding our history and understanding the roles that those that have gone before us have played that allow us to live the lives that we have now is important. Oftentimes on that floor, when I stand up to speak, I stand up as a brilliant Black woman, and I don't say that with any kind of arrogance, but I'm brilliant in the sense that I know that I'm more well read than probably most of the people in that room. But I know I'm definitely more well read and more educated than the 61 or 62 other Republicans on the other side. And that makes a difference when you stand up to fight, that you know that you're speaking with the full authority of knowledge and information.
Amen. Now clock that. That's right. And that's the thing and I think that's why we have been so vilified by this administration. When I was doing some research and I failed to write it down, the number of Black women is so disproportionate in as far as being hired in all of government throughout the country. It's like did I think I've read something like 20%? It's
Mhm.
way disproportionate than any other group in the country. And I thought, my goodness, I didn't realize that. And that's on all levels of government, local, state, and federal. And that even tells me that that's even more reason why we should be interested in running for office, because we see, every day we see the stuff and we know that we can fix it or make it better, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even if you don't run for office, I will be honest with you. What's most frustrating for me, I'm finishing up my third term and running for my fourth term, is I've yet to have a full staff. Campaign manager, field ops, finance person. Why? Because my race is typically a $50,000 race to be able to have all of that. I shamefully tell people that even in my third term, I still have a very basic website. Why? Because again, the times have gone where young people say, you know what, I want to volunteer, I'll help you. Everybody wants to be paid. So if you're not going to run in the race, volunteer your time, your treasure, your talent. Because even though people think that my race is a shoe in, I say, so do I get to stay at home and not do anything? And they're like, of course not. Exactly. And because I'm boots on the ground, every call that I get, I show up. I tell people I show up where I'm invited. Well, where does that money come from? It comes out of my campaign. And so I think, oftentimes people think, well, I'm not going to run, but we can use your time, your talent, or your treasure. And if you get on the phone and call 10 people in your circle, or if you're in any kind of social circle, if you're D9 or Lynx or Jack and Jill, then y'all get on the phone and call y'all people.
Right.
Because that's who you're in relationship with.
Yes.
And let's start there. And if you know a candidate and you personally know, then you get out there and you tell these people, like, I know her. I know the work that she's doing, because people tend to want to believe you than somebody who just blindly knocks on the door.
Right. Aprill, speak to that, being the communications professional that you are, and kingmaker over there at Higher Heights. Speak to that relationship marketing of a candidate.
It's so important, and I'm so happy that you said that. I'm Dr. Baker, especially about our time, our talent, and our treasure. And I'm going to answer that, Pam, but I want to focus on that treasure part for a second. It takes money to run for office, and it's getting more expensive and more expensive. And that's one of the tactics to get rid of us. We saw Jasmine race in Texas. We're seeing it with Karen Bass in LA right now. We're about to see it in Georgia. Now that we have that final matchup between Keisha Lance Bottom and her Republican opponent.
And don't forget about Judge Penny Brown.
I'm going to play that whole thing of all the 8 people that are
outspending, and we're about to see this record number of cash pour into this election, right? And Black people we are very philanthropic. We give to our churches, we give to our sorority fraternities, and that also needs to make sure that goes to the return on investment on the candidates that people we want in office to help represent us. And $5 matters. It does not need to be $100. But to the point that yes, knocking on doors, volunteering, relationship building, all of that is really, really important. But the amount of money being spent in elections in this country, which is so unfortunate, that's what it takes to actually get into office. But that also is important. I see Donald in the chat talking about some super PACs coming online. That's a really important part of this, and I just want to make sure that we all know that when we support Black women running for office, we should also, hey sis, all I can do is $5, but hey, I got you. Because we know we spend money on shoes and other things, spend on people we want to see in office. I just want to say that.
And $5 will buy a sign, right? $5, and if you put 2 more with it, it'll buy the sign and the stake. So I often tell people, every dollar, every dime, when you're a grassroots campaign, and I'm a grassroots campaign, I tell people that the contribution that I'm most proud of is one of my parents, who, when I ran the first time, sent me $2. And some people might be, girl, $2, that $2 not gonna do nothing. But if you knew her story,
yes,
if you knew what it cost her, right? Yes. The Bible talks about the widow and the widow's mite. It's not equal giving, it's equal commitment. And so I will forever hold that $2, because that was the boldest stamp of, I believe in you and I want to make sure that you get elected. Now, the challenge is that for those that can pay more, they should give, but you can't tell people what to do with their money, right? But I will say this, that as a party, we've moved away from the very thing that always won elections for us. And so that is people-to-people contact. The Democratic Party was known for our relationships. And when we started to move away from that, that's when we lost the rural communities. That's when we started losing races, because we can't just dial it in. And so we got money to pay the people that are, and I give out gas cards and, find other ways, feed them and give them snacks. So we've got to find a way back to that people-to-people contact. And again, knocking on doors is important. But I'm really pushing the model of us really convening our village and connecting churches. You already have your volunteers that have been cleared to volunteer at the church and handle sensitive information. Do a wellness check on your members that don't show up. But also, when you're doing the wellness check, call and tell them that you're checking on their voter registration and making sure that they're registered. We know in North Carolina, we're purging voters left and right. And your van set parked. And a lot of churches are like, well, our insurance it won't cover it. My church, I have one of the largest churches in Winston, and that was the conversation. And I said, it may not cover community, but it will cover our members. So if they have to come in on the van on Sunday, they're going to need a ride to the polls during voting season. So,
Donald, I'm going to have you on my show. You've got so much stuff here in the chat, and listen, send me an email or something, because that way I'll know to get back in touch with you, and we can talk and have you on the show. Okay, please do that. And Renee Shaw, Renee is a real big political. Renee is in the state of New York. She's in the city and state of New York, and she has campaigned in Texas and stuff, so she knows that it's a real issue. One thing I know that I keep seeing in my text messages, Aprill, is the people are trying to get rid of Citizens United. Because I'm gonna tell you, I can count. I must get 100 text messages a day for fundraising, and it is just overwhelming.
It is.
It's unmanageable.
Yeah,
it's totally unmanageable. But listen, I want to show you guys this video that was on YouTube, not on YouTube, on Instagram, from this brother that does a lot of Black history spots. And let me say this first. We had 7 Black women who ran in the 2026 U.S. Senate Democratic primaries. 2 are left remaining. Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton of Illinois and Nakia Jasmine Thomas of Oklahoma, going up against a white guy there in Oklahoma. And she's facing a runoff against him. So we'll see what happens in that red state, right? But in the meantime, I'm going to show you this video of, hold on, of the okay, here we go.
Keisha Lynn's Bottoms for governor, Tanya Miller for attorney general, Judge Penny Brown Reynolds for secretary of state, Dr. Lydia Powell for state school superintendent, and Nikki Porter for labor commissioner. But then Georgia State Representative Derek Jackson jumped in my comments and said, "You forgot 2." Then someone else replied and said, "No, he forgot 3." So then I went and yelled at my team of researchers. I am the team of researchers. It's just me. But upon further research, they were right. So let's do this. First up is Keisha Waits, a former 3-term Georgia State Representative and Atlanta City Council member who's running for Insurance and Safety Fire Commissioner. This is the office responsible to making sure insurance companies treat their customers fairly and that our public buildings are safe from fires. If she wins in November, she's going to become the first Black person to ever be elected to that position. But then there's Catherine Arnold. She's running for Commissioner of Agriculture. Now, when you hear that title, you may just think it has to do with farming, but it's much bigger than that. The Agriculture Commissioner helps to oversee food safety, making sure what we eat is safe, that the animals are healthy, and that the state farms have what they need to grow. She's the founder of Baby Katie's Farm and Kitchen. This is a nonprofit dedicated to urban agriculture, nutrition education, and connecting families with locally grown food. If she wins in November, she's going to become the first Black person to hold that position. And last but not least, we have Sheila Edwards. A business owner running for Georgia Public Service Commission. Public Service Commission decides how much utility companies can charge you for things like electricity and natural gas. In other words, their decisions can really impact our monthly bills. And if she wins in November, she's going to become the first Black person ever elected to represent District 5 on that commission. So let's add them all up. Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, State School Superintendent, Labor Commissioner, Insurance Commissioner, Agriculture Commissioner, Public Service Commission, 8 statewide races, 8 Black women, 8 opportunities to make history. I said it in my last video, I'm going to say it again. Less than 60 years ago, Black Georgians were fighting just to cast a ballot, just to be able to vote. And in 2026, we have majority Black women leading the Democratic ticket here in Georgia. How's that for some Black history? So Georgia has more.
Wow. That just makes me smile. And team of researchers, hey brother, I can testify, because when you're a one woman or one man show, it's a lot. It's a lot.
But isn't that neat? And when he first started the video, I'm like, you missed some, but he obviously rectified that. And it's amazing. So there's only 9 statewide offices in Georgia. So 8 of them are being run for Black women, everybody but Lieutenant Governor. And I'm going to add to that, there are 5 women on the ballot for Congress. So there are 13 Black women on the ballot in Georgia, plus more, but on the federal level, 13. And it's amazing. And to his point,
Georgia,
roles, like, all eyes are on Georgia. I know in this started this year, and we were like, our organization was really focused on Texas and Jasmine Crockett, and of course that didn't work out, unfortunately. But all eyes are on Georgia. Georgia, what are you going to do? And this is an amazing thing to happen, and I don't think people even realize it until the next day. Like, look at all these Black women.
I know.
And we're so excited, and we're here to do all that we can do to help get them over the finish line. But that is just such a neat thing. And then, to think about, as we sit here a few days from July 4th, 250 years, this country has never had a Black woman governor. Never. It's never happened. And if Keisha Lance Bottoms can be the first one, we will all applaud that. I think that is fantastic. We have seen lots of struggles with, I will just say, the South in pitting Black women statewide in office. We saw it with Sherry Beasley. We've seen it with Val Deming. We've seen this over and over again. So we are looking to the South to say, hey, come on, it's time. At 250, that would be a great birthday present for this country, I think.
Wow.
So let me say a couple of things. I think Renee had asked a question in the chat about signs and knocking on doors. And, I hear all the time people say, signs don't vote, people vote. But signs elevate your presence. So it is important to have a strong sign game and making sure that your signs are in people's yards, because sometimes, and I know this to be true because I've heard it in the barbershops and the hair salons, they'll vote for somebody on the ballot because they remember their name from seeing their signs. Right. So always remember that. The other thing is, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
What's the elephant in the room, Dr. Baker?
So we as Black people, particularly Black women, tearing down other Black women, I have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, do you want me to name names, or you want me to speak in general, Pam?
You can speak. This is a free country.
I was very disappointed in Stacey Abrams. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she may not have come out and supported Judge Penny Brown, mm-hmm, in the primary, but keep your mouth off of her. And she chose instead to support the white woman who was a problematic candidate. And that's a problem for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get that maybe I might not be your cup of tea. And what I tell people all the time, I will never tear down another Black man or a woman. I might not support them, but I'm not going to do anything to hurt them. And we already have an uphill battle. And so I was very disappointed in her taking that position. And now what you going to do, because your person didn't win. And so can you now recover from that and put forth the same kind of energy that you put behind the white woman, to make sure that this overqualified Black woman who's clearly the best candidate gets elected. She has access to funds, she has access to money, and she may have dried up a potential donor because people look to her, to kind of know what to do. So I'm just saying, as a people, as somebody who's in this game, we hurt our own selves by tearing down our candidates and openly doing it and not holding everybody to that same standard.
Right.
I have to say, I agree, especially in the primary. I mean, it was like, stay out of it. But I will say, I spoke about, and Latrice also mentioned Stacey's name in the chat. Stacey came very, very close twice. I know we all were rooting for her, and we watched that. And I will say, whenever a Black woman steps up to do something like that and run for office and put themselves out there, especially I remember being down there in Georgia on the ground with her. It was just so, we were talking about media and being outspent. Every time I turned the TV on, they were pummeling her with hate ads. I was like, my goodness. I mean, think about the money that they poured into making sure that that she was tainted in that way in the media. And I will say her run, even though she was not successful, because when we see Black people run for office like Kamala Harris and they lose, we're like, oh, well, she lost and we want to throw her away. She broke every single crack in the ceiling that could possibly Keisha Lance Bottoms through. Jasmine Crockett also did the same thing, Renee, in Texas. Her run, even though she didn't win, her tide looked to all votes for Democrats in Texas and her voter turnout strategy. So to the point, it's early yet. We have not seen what Ms. Abrams will do especially in the governor's race and the other races in the state. Let's give her a chance to come in and put her full weight on the scale for these Black women.
And I agree, April. I mean, I went down, I canvassed for her, I gave my few little dollars, I did all of that, and I can appreciate two things can be true at the same time. And this is that instance. We're not gonna minimize the impact of what she was able to do with her two runs and how she chose to use her political capital after she didn't win that second time with organizing. Absolutely. But I can also say that having been in that seat for her to know what it took for her to run for a statewide position, I was just disappointed that she tipped in on the scale against another Black woman. So what's equally concerning for me is that, before Sister Jasmine decided to run, she was out there doing the hard work, right? She's saying the things that we needed to hear. She's out there busting them to their heads to the white meat. And we're like, go, Jasmine, go. Go, Jasmine, go. Right. But when she dared to say, let me take this a step further, where were we?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I mean by you're never going to make me be able to hate her or Stacey.
Yeah.
Or my Howard sister and housemate and freshman class colleague. Sonia Lockett is
oh my gosh, she's not board member.
So we all came in the same freshman class together. We're all a part. But I think we have to be able to have these conversations because in the same way I expect to be held accountable to the people that I represent, we have to be able to hold each other accountable. And we got the fight is already too hard for us. And whatever Stacey chooses to do is her business. But it made the runoff that much harder.
Yeah. I will add to that. I'm sorry, Pam.
I'll just say this real quick. When I heard it, I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then I checked it and I still couldn't believe it.
Same.
That you're bringing it up, I'm like,
yeah,
because I couldn't process it. I could not process it.
And I will say, we're here talking about Black women running for office, and there's an increase in that, and that's the hard part. So there's now more of us, and there's more of us running for the same races. We saw the same thing. You mentioned Juliana Stratton. Well, she ran against Robin Kelly, this current member of Congress, and that was hard. That fractured some CBC members, fractured many of us, and it's like to the point. And I appreciate them because I respect them for both running an above board campaign, not talking about each other in these streets, and not each other because they're two highly regarded Black women that are both capable to be next senator of Illinois, but the voters can only elect one. But as we increase in numbers, we're going to see more and more of us running for office, having differing opinions. But I agree, there's sometimes, I'm going to say, especially in the primary, let it play out before you decide. But you are seeing more choosing of sides for people getting on board their team early. And that's one of the things about growing and being more of us running for office.
And I will say, you know, it's okay. It's okay. You know, I tell people all the time, you know how I live as a free voting state representative? I am true to who I am and what I believe in. I try to represent my district honestly and with integrity. And I may make some missteps along the way. And some people may decide that, okay, we need new representation. Well, guess what? That's the way the process should work. And so if somebody decides to step up, Black, white, or indifferent, to run against me, it's incumbent upon me not to tear down the person that's running against me, but rather to double down on, here's why I'm asking you to reelect me, to send me back for another term. You know, yes, that was not a decision that you necessarily agree with. And I've said why I supported that particular bill or took that particular stance. But here are also the other things that I have done that I deem worthy. And so I think we have to, if we're in the seat, and to do what they did. Those two sisters said, no, we're not going after each other. We're standing on our record. And I think that's the way to do it.
Bonnie Newman Lewis is me and April's friend. She's our NABJ friend. Bonnie, you are commenting on the thing.
Hey, Bonnie, I want to comment about this Virginia race. Thank you, Bonnie, for mentioning it. Winsome Earl Sears, who ran for governor, lost. In Virginia. And, you know, we're always asked at Higher Heights, we're nonpartisan. Do you support Republican candidates? If we meet one that fits the criteria of fighting for Black women, then I'll fit the bill. But I will say about Bonnie's point, it's interesting to watch that race because, again, back to the point of what it takes to run for office, the strong network, the money, the apparatus, the media machine. Her Republican Party did not support her. That was what's so sad to me. To think about Trump wouldn't endorse her to like the very last minute, no support. The RNC did not come into that race how they should have. You think about the fact that that was already a current Republican governor. They were willing to give up an entire governorship because they are so sexist and racist. Think about it. Because she had to win her back at the beginning. She was lieutenant governor. She could have went on to be governor had they invested in her. And, you know, we don't only see that on the Republican side. So
I was going to say the same thing, April, but go ahead, girl.
Yeah. And so to see that was like, I know she has her own issues, but if she had been invested in, they had got her some media coaching and had gotten her all the things that they do for candidates, she would probably be sitting in the governor's mansion. They would possibly have another, I mean, she checks every box. She toes their line. You just wouldn't invest in her. So we see it on both sides, but thank you for bringing that up, Bonnie, because she was a Black woman that probably could have won that race had she had any serious investment from her own party.
And we see that in the Democratic Party. I'm afraid I can't talk about other states, but I can tell you in North Carolina that we had a Black candidate for labor. We had a Black candidate for auditor. We had the first, by the way, she was appointed by Governor Cooper. We had a PhD in economics that ran for treasurer. And we did not see the money come in to support them. And you know, there were a few missteps along the way for Jessica's campaign. But again, had she had the support and somebody to train her and somebody to work with her and the money come in and we, you know, the ads to be bought and making sure that her, you know, those campaigns were funded, we could have had a very different slate of people that are holding statewide offices. And so again, we know that. We know that as people of color, even as a Democrat, we don't often see the money come in to our campaigns. And if it does come in, it comes in too late almost to even make a difference.
and that's the problem.
Mhm.
That is a huge problem. Let me switch to voter engagement, because that is one thing, oh Lord, that we have got. I mean, we have got to have intense voter engagement come this next election, right? So, do you think that Black women candidates can increase voter engagement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the Stacey Abrams, Jasmine Crockett strategy. That's what I was talking about when Jasmine Crockett, she didn't win, but she helped every other Democratic win. That was literally the strategy, to go find a new voter. There are so many people that don't vote. That was her thing. I'm not going to make them go vote. So the plan still works, even though they are the pioneers of it and they're testing it out. That's what's going to take to win. There are that aren't voting. We need to go, we all understand as Black women, our founder and president always says, our household rolls with us, our church, our sorority, our block, our union. We are so powerful of a voice in our community. We have to be the ones to, and I think it was said earlier, to check on people's voter registration. Do you need to write polls? Let me get in your business. Do you have a vote plan? Are you early voting? Are you going the day of? Can I take you? We're going to have to be the people in our community that rattles those cages, because so many people are disenfranchised and they're not anymore. And it's a sad place to be, especially our young people. And that's like a whole conversation to think about. How do we meet them where they are? And for the first time, we're in this space where we're seeing rights roll back, rights they were born with and never thought anything of. And we're in this Freedom Summer 2.0, right?
Yeah.
What does it look like if we are not making sure we're appealing to them, to making sure that they're getting out to vote and preserving those rights and stopping these people and putting people in office that will protect our rights? So all those things. But yes, I do think it's possible to expand the electorate. And, we're already talking, we're the 92%. We already know what to do, but there are more people out there that are just not voting. And that is actually what it's going to take to make some of the changes that we need.
And I think for young people, I tell people I don't do so well with people over the age of 18. But I spend a lot of time talking to young people, right? And I often quote this particular passage about in the Bible. I don't know a scripture and verse, but it's in the book about old men dreaming dreams and young men having visions. And I imagine that in part what that means is there comes a time where we have the wisdom of the lived experience, but we don't have the energy or the strength to do what we once did. Young people have the energy and the strength, and they have the vision for this season, but don't always have the wisdom. And part of what we have to do as older people is to begin to create space to listen to them, to hear them, to talk to them about what does campaigning look like for you? What are you looking for in a candidate? What's important? My daughter, when she voted for the first time, I don't know what they call the Bernie Sanders people, they have a name, but the first election that she voted for was for Bernie Sanders. And so I went back and asked her why did you vote for this old rich white man? Like, what was appealing? I wanted to know, because Bernie Sanders had something that appealed to young people. And she said, because he's talking about stuff that's important to us, student loans and the environment. And so I think that we have an aged electorate. And they are so far removed from things that are that are affecting everyday lives of people. But yet they've not created a bench. They've not worked with young people to get them prepared to run for office. And we've got to do that, right? We have to do it.
Because go ahead,
I
April.
want to add to that point, and thank you for that, because there is a shift happening. We saw what happened in New York with Madani and his 3 members of Congress that he was trying to push through. We saw what's happened recently in the DC primary. Janice George, 38 years old, Black woman, Democrat, socialist. Our young people are saying something to us, and I have, watched with them use the Democratic Party apparatus. Like, oh well, that's not real. Like, no, it is real.
Yes, it's real.
To you is real, and they're expressing it through their vote. So to ask the question, why did you vote for Bernie Sanders? What's it about this Mandani guy? What's about this new store that's going to come in here and in your community grocery stores and blah blah blah? Like Democrats, the old school party, they need to listen.
Yes, because they're community minded, right? No matter what we think, they are community minded. They grew up in a more global community, and they are about taking care of my neighbor. They are about, we need to protect the environment. They are about everything that the old party, they care less about LGBTQ rights, in a sense that they want them to have it, but they don't care about who they marry, who they love. They don't care about abortion rights. They want to be able to make that decision, right? And so I think as a party, we've missed the boat, because oftentimes these big issues that nationally we are focused on is not what people care about. But again, because as a national party, we are aged, and that's not ageism. That is just simply stating the facts, that if you have served in an elected position longer than our current voters are to be able to vote, then it's time for you to step aside.
Yes, Lord. Please. I've been saying that forever, because, we've got so many folks in their 80s and stuff. No fault of that. Look, my mom is 90 and she's an activist in Detroit and can outwalk and out campaign those folks at 90. Okay. However, one thing, and I will keep telling her, I said, Mom, you got to get somebody else to work with you on some of these things. You got to bring somebody up after you to show them all about how you do robocalls and all this stuff. Yes, my mother does robocalls. Anyways, she says, I can't get anybody to be consistent and disciplined to do the things like, because she's a teacher by trade, to do things like I'm trying to teach them to do, so that you will be successful, because you have to be consistent.
Well, I disagree with that, Pam, and I'm an educator too. We would prefer them to be consistent, but anything that your mom can give them for whatever time she has them, anything that you can give them, they got it. Now they may not run it the way she runs it, but that's what I mean by the old men or women and the young ones. It may not look like the way we would expect it to look, but if we give them the wisdom of how we've always done it, right, then they can take what we've taught, what we've taught them, and morph it. We're not moving the way they moved in the 60s.
That's right.
We're moving the way, but you see tenements of it. So I would only say that if you just got them for a short period of time, give them what you can give them, because then they at least have something to work from.
Right. And I try to tell her that, but I think that's some of my mom's stubbornness too. Because she's 90. What you gonna tell somebody that's 90?
Nothing. But you say what you say and then move out the way. Make sure you don't get hit upside the head with a shoe.
That's about right. Yeah, and the youth can teach us so many things too. Because look, I was talking to a young man the other day. I said, I need help to get these YouTube, all of my shows cut into shorts and stuff, because I have no bandwidth to do another thing. Okay. Not another thing. And Dr. Baker says that part, and the youth, the chat is jumping here. Young people have behind the fight for 15 and the anti-ICE fights. Oh my God. That's another thing. We got to deal with all that. Anyways, let me ask you guys this. Dr. I had all these little questions and stuff all out. I had a question for you, Dr. Baker. You might have answered it already. I don't know. Can you share with us a story or an experience that illustrates why increasing Black women's political representation matters? Why does it matter that we have more Black women?
I can give you a recent experience. For those of you who may be following House Bill 958 here in North Carolina, which is another voter suppression bill, we have what we call shadow chairs and shadow committees. And what we do is, since we don't have any power, we still organize and strategize if we're in power. And I'm the shadow chair for election law and reform. And when House Bill 958 came, right, I was the person that orchestrated the strategy. And, you know, we had two people that really worked really closely with people on the other aisle, but all they were giving us were crumbs, right? So what we're not going to do is stand up there and thank them. That's not what we're going to do. Well, we're going to get up there and we're going to stay on message, and we're going to continue to talk about the fact that we still don't have a budget. And yet here we are dealing with the 7th, 8th, or 9th election reform bill, which we know disproportionately affects Black and brown people. That's what we're going to do, right? And Black women, we stand in our truth, and we stand boldly, and we call it out. And to say to the two people, as a white man, you're at the top of the food chain. You're not going to be affected by this. As a white woman, even though you're gay, you are next in line on the food chain. You're not going to be affected by this. So I think it's important for Black women to be in those spaces and in those rooms, and to be able to stand up in our authentic self, because whether we want to talk about this or not, sometimes if I close my eyes, I don't know whose caucus I'm in, because whether you got a D behind your name or an R behind your name, if you don't understand when your white privilege shows up, that's a problem.
Yes.
And I think Black women, we're courageous enough and strong enough to call that out as well. Because the worst enemy to the Democratic Party, Black Democrats right now, are progressive leftists. And so that's why we have to be in rooms where the conversations are being had and the decisions are being made, because that life experience that we talked about early, the history that we carry, right? The scars that we carry, when we're in those rooms, if we don't bring that full weight of who we are, then we can't even bring change to the political system. And that's my truth, and I'm standing on it.
All right, Senator Baker. And not Senator Representative Baker.
Oh, Lord.
I might be claiming something to have. Okay?
Heights, I'm gonna need you, April. I'm gonna need you. We'll have to make a decision real soon, but I'm gonna need y'all higher heights if I'm gonna be senator.
That's all right. Bonnie jumped in the chat and she says, what do you attribute to the animosity and current lack of support for Black women candidates in this election cycle under Trump compared to previous election cycles under Trump?
I mean, it's the vitriol.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just over and over again. I mean, the name call. I mean, it's just we've had to start a whole program in defense of Black women. Think about how he's attacked Tish James, the way he's attacking Monica McIver in New Jersey. She had a trial court date last week. The way he's attacked. I mean, it's just disgusting. Yeah. So unfortunately, you know, I do think people have common sense, but he has the microphone, he has the pulpit, he has the stage right now, and everything that he says is magnified, and it's awful. And like I said earlier, in 2024, you know, Kamala ran a great race. We know she only had 107 days, but when we lose, they throw us away. How many times did I run for president? 4? Like it's just like crazy. Like you can't throw Jasmine Crockett away. You can't throw Kamala Harris away. But we consider you're a Black woman. Oh, you couldn't do it. You're done. And they get to fail so many times. So we have to change our framing and thinking about this. And sometimes you do run for office a few times and you lose. It's okay.
It's
but
okay.
the fact I think I was looking at an article the other day, and it was talking about 2028 contenders, and it was kind of like, Kamala maybe. They've already moved on to Gavin and to Pritzker. There's no other proven Democrat right now except for her. She's the one that raised money. She's the one that did it. Like, how do you put her in the mid category? Oh, you that have been untested. How crazy? She's been the vice president.
Right.
Also, as quiet as it's kept, and really not so quiet on the internet streets, there's all this question that she really did win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think so. Well, and you know, again, 92%. If I decide to run for Senate, I'm gonna need y'all to show up because, again, I'm a truth sayer. Where was Joe Biden when she ran? Nowhere. Where was Nancy Pelosi when she ran? Nowhere. Where were the people who were pushing Joe not to run? Again, but when she said yes, where were they? And we don't talk about that at all. That they didn't show up. She put together a dynamic, well-organized campaign for 107 days with no support. And I don't mean just showing up at a rally. I mean, where were the ads? Where were them saying, you know what? She answered the call. We told Joe to sit down. She sat down, and Kamala stood up. Where were they? Weren't. And I felt my conspiracy theory was they knew that he couldn't be Donald Trump, but they didn't want that to be his legacy. So I saw Donald Trump. I saw President Biden the night after election. After the debate, I was on the tarmac when he came to Raleigh. And the man that came down off of Air Force One was not the man that we had just seen on TV. Was not. Now, that's my conspiracy theory. But I feel like they closed in ranks. They made it seem like he couldn't do this. They pushed him out. He's the hero. He's the hero of his own story. That's me. I don't have nothing to validate that other than I watch what you do, not what you say.
Yeah.
It's so many. The chat is jumping. Noemi said she wanted to thank you for calling it out.
Yes.
Wrestling legacy. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm about to comment. Hi, Jeff Winbush. I'm about to comment on your comment, Jeff. So listen, our country is in a bad place. So this is what I talked about earlier about the primary. We should want every single candidate that wants to go through that primary. Let her go. If she don't have a snowball chance, she don't have a snowball chance. But the things that I'm hearing, she shouldn't run. We shouldn't say that about anybody.
That's right.
No one tells people not to run. Come on, like let's listen to ourselves.
Yes.
If people criticize her for not having a full time to campaign last time, if she wants to go through Iowa, New Hampshire, and kiss babies and go to state fairs, let her.
Yeah.
We're not in a position right now to block out anybody at the gate.
That's right.
I want to see everybody that think they can run to get in there and get through the process, the full process this time. So I'm not ready to say that yet.
That's correct. And the thing is then it could be 27 of them and made the strongest candidate win. And who's the strongest candidate? Whoever gets the most votes.
That's the only candidate you hear that about. She shouldn't run.
Right.
You don't tell the white boys that. They tell them to try over and over again. Pete, I'm not trying to be funny. Pete Buttigieg was like the mayor of Mayberry, and they have catapulted him to whatever. And okay.
Right.
And unlike us, when we're articulate and well spoken and accomplished, we don't get the attaboy prize, right? And he catapulted because he's well spoken, he's articulate, he was able to shut some stuff down. And I don't have a dog in the fight about him, but you're absolutely right that we can stand up there and we can speak to the issues and have the qualifications to stand behind us. And if we happen to win, oh well, that was just luck. No, it was strategy. It was,
John Caldwell said something that I think we've hinted to, but we didn't say out loud. He says we have some white nationalists within the Democratic Party as well. Amen.
Did you hear me when I said if I close my eyes?
Yes.
I don't know whose caucus I'm sitting in because it can be hostile.
Yeah.
It can be very hostile. But I just so happened that before I was all cleaned up and I got saved and Jesus saved my life and helped my mouth and all that I was a girl from Louisville. And so she pops out. And when she pops out, she ain't nice. Her mouth is played.
Oh gosh, the chat is jumping.
Yeah. But I think, earlier we were talking about mobilizing. If we're not already doing that, we're behind the eight ball.
Right.
I would, like many other women, the day after the election in 2025, I was hurting, I was disappointed, I was mad, I was angry, all of that. But the cause I was on, I was like, yeah, we got to do two things at once. Like we have to nurse ourselves and continue to be in community with each other, but we've got to get up and we've got to keep fighting. And so we can't, part of the problem that we have is that we wait too late. And if people are just now organizing voter registrations and still trying to put together plans, we are less than 4 months away from early voting.
I know it's too much. My nerves are bad, and I got to listen. We have so much that we have to do to get our people prepared to get this voting going. You guys are really hot in this chat. Listen, everybody in the chats, wherever you are, if you on YouTube, please like the YouTube, put a like on there and subscribe to my channel, please. And thank you. Let's see. And wherever you are, share the video. Share the video. Share the video, guys.
And I will say too, I'll add to this. Pam is one of the few people we know we have Roland, and we thank God for Roland. But we thank God for you too, Pam, because you're one of the few people who continue to be at this, to continue to put together platforms that allow us to speak directly to the people that are going to be impacted by these conversations. And I know she sends me probably about 10 reels a day.
I love it.
But you got to stay in the fight because you are a needed voice. You are a needed voice. And I thank you because we don't always get to get these kinds of platforms to have these kinds of conversations.
Well, I think it's the only way that we learn, really and truly. And I have the experience of working in a place that a lot of people that are very marginalized and they receive services. And that's one reason why I did this. And it's a labor of love to try to get people more educated about the political process and to ask questions and make it kind of like, because I think the more things are done in a method like where you're learning, teaching, kind of having conversations, the easier it is for people to get more engaged versus that you better do this and you know what I mean? It kind of comes off a little bit different.
Yeah.
I hope it does anyway.
It does. Yeah. And you allow us to not talk so high level. And I think oftentimes when I see particularly people of color who has the voice in the ear of more of our cable network newses and mainstream media, they often speak very high level and
they do. They really do.
And they connect, right? So
yeah, it's a disconnect because Dr. Baker, that a lot of our people, our reading levels and stuff. I mean, hello.
Yeah, that's real talk. And the thing is that we can speak directly to all levels of people and speak with, let's say, easier conversation and not speak down to people, right?
Yeah.
When I'm sitting in the barbershop and I call it cuts and cuties or the hair salon and I'm kicking it with them, the conversation is the same, but the delivery is different.
Different, very different.
And, you know,
Yes.
and that, and for me, it's important that I can deliver the message in a way that can be heard and people still feel respected. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's, I like it. I like kicking it in the barbershop and hair salons. And
I hear your language there, Dr. Baker.
yeah, and I will say this too, to the people who are listening, hold the people who hold office accountable. Hold us accountable, right? My win number keeps going up, not because my you know my district is so blue, but I mean I don't stop working, and I'm reaching out to our unaffiliated voters, right? Because it's important to know what are their issues, what are they concerned about, how do I connect with them, and so hold us accountable. I'm not afraid to be held accountable.
Yeah. April, how would people that are really serious about running for office, some sisters that are really serious, they're serious about running, how do you discern, how do you guys pick, how do you how does that work exactly, how do you do it?
Well, for us, it's a process. Our candidates apply to be endorsed, and we sit down and we do race reports, and we look at just their background. We look at their operation to see, are they able to raise money? Do they have campaign staff? Do they have, if there's any polling in their race? And I mentioned before, life's starting to get a little harder because it used to be 15 years ago when we started, like, oh, there's one Black woman in these races, and that's not what's happening anymore. So it's requiring a little bit more. And we do have a meeting with them, a Zoom meeting with each candidate before our board votes. But yeah, and I would say for anyone interested in running for office, it's really all consuming to really sit down with your kitchen cabinet, your board of advisors, to make sure that's really what you want to do, that you have the support, that you see a pathway, that you have some understanding of what it takes to win in your district or your state or what you're running for. Who to call to that does know those things if you don't know. All those type of things I think are involved in us endorsing a candidate, but what they're going to go through to run for office. And it's hard. It's very hard. We always end every endorsement interview with the same question. We ask them, we grill them on all the other politics stuff, and we ask them, how are you? How taking care of yourself? And people are all back by that. But I'm like, some of these women are running for office and it's all consuming, and they're not doing the things they need to do to take care of themselves. So take a beat and breathe. We always remind them, make sure you drink your water, you get in your sleep, going to the gym, because you are our leaders and you're putting yourself out there to lead.
Go to homecoming.
Go to homecoming, yeah. But one of the things I love about Keisha Lance Bottoms, and sometimes she's criticized for it, I just love to see her fun videos of her daughter dancing. I love to see that she can keep it fun and run for office. And this is really hard work if you don't take those moments to breathe and have a little bit left sometimes.
Yes.
It'll really beat you down. So I would say that part is equally as important as all the other things that you have to do to make sure you can win office.
Yeah. In the chat, we are too slow to get ready. I don't see us moving like we're in a crisis.
That's right.
Whew, y'all are, and Jeff wants to be on a panel.
Thank you, Jeff. I wouldn't be too hard on us. I was laughing last summer. We had our fans and boots on the ground, right? Everybody's like, are y'all really line dancing? Why this world? I feel like Black people have been through a lot in this country and through history. We understand what to do. We do need those things too, in addition to getting in the fight. So when
Right.
people boots on the ground, everybody's line dancing.
Yes,
Let's
yes.
go to the barbecue. Let's go to the
Yep.
homecoming, but it's also fight because
Right.
that's what keeps us sane.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
think the light parts are important too.
They're very important. Our mental health. We cannot say enough about keeping ourselves
That's
mentally
right.
healthy enough.
And this young generation gets that better than any of us.
They do.
Mhm.
They got that part locked down.
They do. They really do. And I applaud them for it. I applaud them for it for sure. And I love this what Renee Shalk says, sisters, find your joy first. Absolutely. Well, ladies, I have enjoyed our conversation. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And you guys share the video to people. Hopefully I'll have this young man I met mix this up and break it down, so I'll have some YouTube shorts sometimes.
Now, Sister April, you heard Pam first. So y'all go back to when you go back to y'all doing y'all meeting around the table. Say, well, you know, we might have a candidate down in North Carolina that can run for that Senate seat that's coming up in 2028.
Hear her, and I have your email, so I'm gonna reach out.
And tell my sister Lockett I said hello. Thank you again, Pam, as always.
You are welcome. You are welcome. Thank you all for listening, participating, and sharing the video. All right, we're gonna wave off to everybody. Good night, guys.